Good afternoon, everybody. Today we have a recent list that I saw 5.0 in the form of Orzhov Pox with a slight Mardu splash for Boyle, because whoever built this list was mean. Anyway, it's got a Stoneforge package, which is a great way to take advantage of lingering souls. Of course, just suit your souls up with Batter Skull or Swords of Fire and Ice or Feast and Famine, and you're pretty much good to go. You cast Smallpoxes. A couple of interesting things. Number one, they're running Lithoform Blight in the sideboard. I assume this is for a deck like Tron, where you want to take them off of a particular land type. But at the same time, I don't know why this isn't the Wildfires card, the Ghost Quarter spell. So we'll have to see. It's possible that red mana is not super consistent, even though they have a Blood Crypt and a Savai Triome, but I guess we'll find out. So without further ado, I think we're going to go ahead and take this into a modern league. Alright, round one. Here we go. Okay. No black mana, which is a little bit awkward. This hand would be great if we had a single swamp. It's possible that I could keep this and just, like, get a Godless Shrine. I think I'm gonna mulligan, though. Well, this is slightly better. I think I'm gonna keep and put back Sword. We do not get to start turn 1 Inquisition with this hand, unfortunately. Alright, we're against Tron. We have Ghost Quarter opening hand. Alright, I am gonna shock Blood Crypt for an Inquisition here. The opponent has Mine, Power Plant in hand. We're going to take Scrying to take them off of Tron. Okay. Going to crack Star for green. Plays a Mine. Passes. Draw Smallpox. I can cast Smallpox, but they'll just sack Power Plant if I do. I think the best play here is to play Savai Triome. That way we can follow up Liliana with a Ghost Quarter and Stoneforge Mystic. If my opponent plays a tower, it's game over. They would have had to have drawn it naturally, though. Okay, they play the Power Plant. They play Expedition Map. Okay. We untap. We draw Marsh Flats. So, play a Ghost Quarter. And play Stoneforge Mystic. We'll tutor with Stoneforge Mystic, and we'll get Feast and Famine. Pass the turn. We're going to wait till our opponent cracks map. If they don't crack map, we'll Ghost Quarter on their draw step. Okay. Opponent gets a tower. So we Ghost Quarter the Mine. Opponent gets a forest. Okay, opponent Sylvan Scryings. Probably to get mine. Yep. We'd like to draw a Thoughtseize effect so that we could take Karn. And that hopefully would be enough to disrupt them. So they're holding tower. Unfortunately, Smallpox here is way worse for us than it is for them. And they'll have 10 mana for Ulamog. Does that mean I have to cast Smallpox? I can make them sack Ulamog, but we'll never have Liliana actually survive. This one's a little tough. I think I really don't want a Smallpox from this position, but I think it might be the way to go. Because that puts them on 9, then they can only play Karn. But Karn can hit... Yeah, actually, I don't want to really show them what else we're playing. I'm going to concede, because there's no clear way out of this for us. And versus Tron, I'm going to bring in Lithoform Blight. Extirpate seems kind of nice. So does Ashiok. Anguished Unmaking and Fulminator Mages. I'm going to go down Elspeth, Sun's Nemesis, as she doesn't really clearly have a role here. Same with Fatal Pushes. I might keep Blood Chief's Thirst. Probably not, actually. And then I think I can go down probably a Kaya's Guile. Yeah, we'll go down a couple Kaya's Guile. We'll try running it like this. So this way we can extirpate a Tron land, which would be pretty sweet. Because that almost certainly would give us enough time to like get our stack stuff going. Alright, I'll play first. Thoughtseize hand is a fair start. So gonna keep. We'll start Silent Clearing Thoughtseize. Opponent has Map, Mine, Power Plant, Scrying, Wilt, and a Forest. So take Expedition Map. Pass the turn. That is their most on curve of all of their spells. They start Power Plant. We untap, we draw Liliana. So play Godless Shrine, tapped. Thoughtseize again. We have Emrakul, the Promised End. I wonder if we take that over, like, just taking a Sylvan Scrying. I mean, Sylvan Scrying's probably got to be better, right? No, I'll take the Emrakul. So my opponent could play a Forest and take a turn off of Assembling Tron to get the last Tron piece off of Sylvan Scrying. They do. Okay. We untap and draw Inquisition. So play Flagstones. Play Lily. Tick up Lily. Discard Lingering Souls. Okay, opponent discards their other Sylvan Scrying. So pass the turn. Really hoping we draw a land. That way we can play Sword. We can Inquisition Wilt and then play Sword. And then take up Liliana safely. Okay, opponent plays Mine. The Ancient Stirrings, which is one of their unknown cards in hand for us. They get a Wormcoil Engine, which we're not running Paths, so that's going to actually be quite difficult for us to answer. Alright, so start this off with an Inquisition. Opponent cycles Wilt. Okay. They do have a Karn Liberated. I'll take the only card we can take. Play Blood Crypt untapped. Play Sword. Tick up Lily. Opponent has to discard one of their threats. They can keep Karn or they can keep Wormcoil. They might discard the Wormcoil because Karn provides immediate value in answering Lily. I mean, Wormcoil would too, but Wormcoil, they might be afraid that we're running Path to Exile, which, if we are, would answer Wormcoil pretty handily with basically no value on my opponent's part. Our next turn is going to be like Lingering Souls and probably sack Silent Clearing unless we draw something really good. This is a hard choice for my opponent. They discard Wormcoil. Okay. Pass the turn. This opponent is holding Tower Karn, one unknown. They play Tower. They play Karn. They take Lily. Okay. We do not know what the last card in their hand is. We draw Smallpox. So I'm going to cast Smallpox now, floating the mana first. So cast Smallpox, sack Flagstones. Opponent discards Ulamog. So that means no Ulamogging immediately. We'll get the Savai Triome. And we'll go ahead and cast Lingering Souls. Pass the turn. Opponent needs to uptick Karn. Ah, great top deck. We can't equip. They top deck 4 mana Karn. Ugh. Alright. Well, my opponent can wish. And we can't attack and kill Karn either. alright. Sorry, I was checking the main deck. I think their best bet is, like, probably Ensnaring Bridge, yeah. Okay, opponent plays Ensnaring Bridge. Ticks up Karn. We can't attack. Untap. Draw a useless Lingering Souls. Did the sack Silent Clearing to draw another Lingering Souls. Oh, you know what? I took out the Blood Chief's Thirst, and that can hit Planeswalkers on 4 mana. So I probably should have kept that in. Right? Hang on. Yes, I should have kept that in, absolutely. So that was a slight mistake. But my opponent also top-decked the perfect card. Alright. See you guys in round 2. Alright, well this is a Thoughtseize Smallpox hand, which is pretty sweet. I'm gonna keep this. See what we're up against. Versus aggro, this hand's also pretty good, considering the number of cheap removal spells we have. Ah. Eldrazi. We draw Castle Lochthwain. So start Swamp. Go ahead and Thoughtseize, take a look at what's going on. Opponent has Double Temple, Matter Reshaper, Karn. I'm going to take Matter Reshaper because it's the only thing they can play next turn. So if my opponent top decks a Thought-Knot Seer, we are going to be a bit sad. If they don't, we are going to get double value out of this Smallpox. They drew a Matter Reshaper, okay? Smallpox should still be really good value here. Inquisition currently hits nothing in their hand, which means I should probably discard it to Smallpox. So I'll play Castle Lochthwain, play Smallpox, discard Inquisition. Okay, sack the Swamp. Opponent discarded Reality Smasher. And they draw another Karn Great Creator. Okay. Opponent plays a Wastes. Passes. We draw Batterskull. So play Marsh Flats. Basically, so if we need to Fatal Push a Thought-Knot Seer, we can. Because my opponent has 2 unknown cards in hand. We just drew a Power Plant. Here comes the Thought-Knot. Okay. So trigger on the stack. Go ahead and fetch Marsh Flats. Get a Savai Triome. And kill Thought-Knot. We draw a Sword of Feast and Famine. Then our opponent gets to look at our hand and pick it apart. They probably take Blood Chief's Thirst, as it's our answer to Karn. They could take Sword if they're worried about Sword. Which they could be. That would be a reasonable thing to be worried about. It's just, if they have a land to play a Karn next turn, Sword is kind of irrelevant at every point of the game. So I think I would take Blood Chief's Thirst. Yeah, okay. Opponents think of the same thing I am, it looks like. Or something similar anyway. We untap. We draw Inquisition, which hits neither card in their hand. So play Urborg. Play Sword. Pass the turn. Really hoping they don't draw land. They drew land. Every time. Here comes Karn. So we can't equip the Sword. Okay, opponent's going to wish. We can Inquisition whatever they wish for. Liquid Metal Coating. Alright. We untap, draw Flagstones. Inquisition our opponent, take Liquid Metal Coating. Pass the turn. So, I mean, that's kind of nice. Okay, they play a Temple. Last card in hand's Karn, so they could wish, and then they could play Karn or something. I mean, they probably wish for something like Trinisphere, I imagine. Trinisphere is pretty good. Sky Sovereign. Alright. That's a good animation target. Okay, we draw Lingering Souls, which is not particularly useful here. We really want to draw land so we can play this Batterskull. I don't know if I can lose 3 life to Castle, though, is a problem. I think I have to, because if I don't get a land here very quick, I'm just going to die anyway. Sword does nothing because we can't equip it. Okay, opponent animates Sky Sovereign with Karn. Hits us for 5. Oh, you know what? Batterskull doesn't even work, because my opponent, if they're smart, can just animate Batterskull, and that causes it to fall off the token. But I mean, that means they're not attacking with Sky Sovereign if they do that. At least for a turn. No, they could animate Sky Sovereign, and then they could play their other Karn and tick up on Batterskull. Ugh, it's gross. If that was the case, I probably should have played out the Lingering Souls. If I played in flashback Lingering Souls, they would have tacked, killed one, we could have blocked, and it would have killed the other. Well, I guess let's see what they do. They animate Expedition Map. And they're going to play their other Karn? Okay, this is definitely not correct. Okay, never mind. They figured it out. They just... Why didn't you animate Sky Sovereign? Oh, I guess because this is still a creature. It is still animated, I guess. Yeah, that makes sense. So, go to combat. Attack Karn. That would have been really funny if they sacked it pre-blocks. Alright, they block with Expedition Map. They sack to get probably another Tron land. Blast Zone. Okay. Play Lingering Souls. Flash it back. I don't know if I should play out this Urborg or not. If we had drawn removal for that Expedition Map, and could have attacked Karn, we might have stood a chance. Okay, but it doesn't look like that's the case now. Oh no, animates Sky Sovereign. Doesn't attack. Okay. I don't know if that was intentional. Well, we could draw Bloodchief's Thirst. That'd be pretty good. Thoughtseize is not so good. I think I want to play out my hand so that Castle actually does something. I don't know what their last card in hand is. Thoughtseize. It's a land. Okay. Play an Urborg. Keep the untapped one. Go to combat. I'm not going to attack. I still think we get out of this by taking 2 damage. Taking 2 damage off of Castle and trying to draw Bloodchief's Thirst. Kaya's Guile also might work by actually dealing with the Sky Sovereign at instant speed. Push doesn't. Smallpox might. This opponent goes to combat. They'll shoot down a spirit. Okay. Block with another spirit so we can use Castle this turn. If my opponent draws another creature, it's still game over. Okay, Expedition Map. They play out Cavern. Then they pass. So, activate Castle. Draw Swamp. Untap. Draw Kaya's Guile. So, play a Swamp. We do not want to exile our opponent's grave. Because if we do that, our opponent can then just wish for whatever nonsense they think is best. So I'm kind of torn between gaining life or making a spirit. I think gaining life is going to be a little bit better. Maybe not. Maybe the spirit is better. So we're going to kill Sky Sovereign. Who knows? My opponent might just like Scavenger Grounds and get rid of it out of their grave. I don't want to play out this sword because my opponent has an active blast zone that they could easily tick up to 3. Okay. Go to combat. We are dead to Reality Smasher with this play, whereas gaining life we wouldn't be. But there's not much I can do about that. Okay. Take Karn down to 6. Opponent cracks map. Gets an Urza's Mine. Yeah, at this point, Tron lands are probably just the best thing for them. Okay, and they're still keeping Blast Zone on 1. Player Urza's Mine. Opponent wishes. They choose Walking Ballista. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, we're just dead. We're just dead to walking ballista. Well, that's lame. Okay. So, versus our opponent's deck, I think I want Kaya's Guile, Anguished Unmaking, and Fulminator Mage ought to do some work. So will Ashiok. I'm going to go down Elspeth, Sun's Nemesis. I'm going to cut a Fatal Push and an Inquisition. I need to cut 3 more cards. Yeah, Plague Engineer on Eldrazi doesn't really do anything. Just looking at that in the sideboard. I mean, the Swords Batterskull Stoneforge package is great as long as my opponent does not play a Karn Great Creator. I can probably get away dropping the Triome. I worry about not having enough planes for Flagstones, though, because we only have 4. I'm going to try cutting a land and a couple more Inquisitions, because Inquisition doesn't really hit anything in our opponent's deck. Alright, we'll play first. It's okay. We'll keep. If my opponent has, like, Temple, Thought Knot, the ideal hand will probably be in trouble, but play Marsh Flats, pass the turn. If they don't have that, we're probably fine. Opponent starts Tectonic Edge, Expedition Map. We'll crack Marsh Flats, get a Godless Shrine tapped. We untap, and we draw Flagstones. So, play Marsh Flats, pass the turn. Opponent plays an Eldrazi Temple, Chalice on 1. Okay. That turns off all of our hand hate and a lot of our good removal. I think we Fulminator from this board because... yeah, we'll get Blood Crypt tapped. I think we Fulminator from this board because if we Fulminator, we can take out Eldrazi Temple, and if they don't have another land, they can't map. I'm tempted to play Ashiok and prevent my opponent from searching, but if they have a land and they play a big threat, like, we're going to have trouble recovering from that, I think. Like, Liliana could make them sack a Reality Smasher or something, but I think Fulminator is highest value play here. So, play Fulminator. Nuke the Temple. Pass the turn. We can follow this up with Dream Render or Liliana, depending on which one we think is more powerful. Opponent has another Eldrazi Temple. They play a Matter Reshaper. Okay. We untap. We draw Fetid Heath. So, I don't like doing this, but Liliana. Down tick. Make them sack. They draw a map, which they can put directly onto the battlefield. And I think I'm going to play Flagstones just for a free deck thin this turn. Get a Plains. Pass the turn. Lots of ways this goes wrong. I'm going to play a Wastes. Yep, Thought Knot's here. So, this is a case of our removal not lining up very well with Chalice of the Void. Opponent takes Dream Render because they have 2 maps on board. Liliana, unfortunately, is not in a position where she can do anything like at all. Play Silent Clearing. Yeah, that just doesn't do anything. Go ahead and sack to draw. Okay, Lingering Souls matters. So, uptick Lily. Discard Blood Chief's Thirst. Cast a Lingering Souls. Pass the turn. So if we top deck one of our swords, we can get the proc off of the sword. Opponent plays a Cavern. Name's Eldrazi. They have a Reality Smasher, which makes all of our hopes and dreams die horribly in a fire. Okay, they attack Lily, and sure she dies. They attack us for 4. Well, we'll take it. Man, that Blood Chief's Thirst would have been great. Draw Kaya's Guile, which we can't every mode it, but we can get a Spirit and make our opponent sack. Play Fetid Heath. So each opponent sacks a creature, we make a Spirit with flying. If they sack Thought Knot, we get a draw. Okay, they do. Get an Inquisition. Well, cast Lingering Souls from the grave. Now, do we quinta-block this Reality Smasher to kill it? Considering all of our other removal is turned off, unless we draw another Kaya's Guile or Lily, I guess Anguished Unmaking works too. Probably. Opponent sacks to get an Eldrazi Temple. Plays Eldrazi Temple. Oh no. Smasher 2? Reality Boogaloo? Okay. Well, put all 5 ghosts in front of an Eldritch Abomination to slay it. We need to draw Liliana, Anguished Unmaking, or Kaya's Guile. Or some form of a redraw. Stoneforge, I think technically counts. We'll play Urborg. Play Stoneforge Mystic. Use its ability. And we'll get Batterskull. Okay, pass the turn. So, if my opponent attacks, we're given a choice. Actually, we're not really given a choice. We're given the choice of preventing 2 damage and not being able to block down Reality Smasher, or playing Batterskull next turn and block down Reality Smasher. I, for some reason, was like, oh yeah, no, that doesn't have trample. So, okay, Maze Mind Tome is an excellent card to have here. They're going to draw an additional card with Maze Mind Tome, leaving open their Eldrazi Temples. Alright, they dismember Stoneforge Mystic, which, while bad, is not the end of the world. We take 5 and go to 4. We untap. We draw a card we can't cast. Play Batterskull, Living Weapon. So, I'm going to throw out this Inquisition. And this seems really weird, but if I draw Castle Lochthwain, I want to be able to redraw without paying all of my life into it. The fun thing is, if they attack with Reality Smasher, we actually gain life for a turn, which puts us out of Reality Smasher range for next turn. Or, I mean, the turn after, anyway. Okay, opponent draws an extra card off of Maze Mind Tome. Plays a tower. Attacks. Alright, well, we block. 1 tramples over, then we gained 4, so we go up to 7. Matter Reshaper does kind of throw a wrench in thing. We untap. Draw Kaya's Guile. Okay, so I'm going to wait to activate that. Pass the turn, we're going to cast Kaya's Guile on my opponent's turn, making them sack and having us gain 4 life. Then, after they have any chance of playing a Thought-Knot Seer, i.e. their end step, we're going to pick up Batterskull. And this kind of works as a delay tactic. The reason that we need to cast Kaya's Guile on my opponent's turn and not ours is because if they sack Matter Reshaper, and Matter Reshaper hits Matter Reshaper, we lose the game. Opponent picks up a Blast Zone. Okay? They untap. They draw. Activate Maze Mind Tome to draw a card. They play Scavenger Grounds. Okay? Beginning of combat. Each opponent sacrifices a creature. You gain 4 life mode. They didn't play that Matter Reshaper, didn't play a creature, we'd be in so much better spot. Okay, Matter Reshaper hits, and Urza's mine. Okay, they go to combat, they attack us for 5. So we take it, we go to 6. Opponent's going to nuke our red land, which we don't actually need. They might have drawn Thought-Knot Seer, and this is why they're making us do this. Okay, we're lucky they don't have a Thought-Knot Seer. Untap. We draw a Shambling Vent. Play Shambling Vent. Play Batterskull. And if my opponent does not have some way to force us to block, i.e. they're... I mean, so we lose by our opponent playing a Walking Ballista, basically. We're going to have to take the 5 damage here, basically because we need to be able to attack back. Okay, opponent draws a card with Maze Mind Tome. Card's so good. I should actually try playing it in like Pox variants. That might be kind of fun. Opponent attacks for 5. No blocks. We're going to 1. If they had Karn and could wish for Walking Ballista, they could probably kill us from whatever life total we would be at anyway. Okay, we untap. We draw Stoneforge Mystic. If I had one more mana, I could play Stoneforge, play and equip a sword, and we would be golden. But I don't. So go to combat. Attack for 4. Pray our opponent does not have Dismember. Hit them for 4, go up to 5. Play Stoneforge. Leave up mana. We're going to leave up mana to animate Shambling Vent. And I think we want Sword of Fire and Ice more than Feast and Famine here, because my opponent already has so much mana. Pass the turn. I'm fighting hard. Okay, opponent untaps. It's always Karn. Why is it always Karn? They're gonna wish. We just died a Walking Ballista again? It's so stupid. I mean, if I had a Kaya's Guile, I could make them sack in response to using the last, like, one of the last counters or something like that. Alright, well, they got us fair and square. Yeah, that was just a case of our removal not lining up at all. Bloodchief's Thirst and Fatal Push and our Hand Hate just get thrown into the Chalice of the Void, so that was pretty bad. We also did not, like, have quick enough disruption in the form of Fulminator Mage, Ashiok, and Ghost Quarter and Smallpox. Like, we just didn't do anything fast enough, and my opponent drew redundant Eldrazi Temples both games. So, like, you can't get a much better hand for Eldrazi Tron. And we got a little bit unlucky, as well as not being tailored to beat Eldrazi Tron. Alright, as you are hearing me speak this, I just hit my 420th subscriber. I am pretty stoked about that. That's awesome. Alright, round 3, here we go. I'll play first. Tapped black mana source. I think I have to mulligan. Oh, I should have kept. Alright, well, we're going to 5. The attrition deck is starting off with 3 less cards. Because my opponent's on the draw. Alright, we'll keep. I am not casting a Smallpox from this position. Ever. So hopefully I don't regret that. The plan is to play Liliana on turn 3, tick up discarding Lingering Souls. Opponent starts Arid Mesa. So we're against a Lurrus deck, which means this is probably the Death Shadow one. Could just be Burn. We're going to go ahead and fetch a Savai Triome. Opponent gets in with Courier, exiles a card. We untap. Second Liliana, play Castle Lochthwain, pass the turn. Opponent plays a Bloodstained Mire. I don't know what's happening because the game's lagging out. I hear the noise cues. I hear the noise cues! Okay. Opponent plays a Scourge of the Skyclaves. We draw. Batterskull. So, play Ghost Quarter. Play Lily. Downtick. Make our opponent sack. Alright, this is ridiculous. I gotta restart the client. Alright, we're back. So, pass the turn. So much faster. Come on, Wizards, fix your programming. It's called a Memory Profiler. Go look at it. Opponent attacks us. Plays a second Scourge of the Skyclaves. Draw Marsh Flats. So, play Marsh Flats. Tick up Lily. Discard Lingering Souls. Play other Lily. Keep the new one. Make them sack a Scourge. We only have 1,000,000 removal spells that kill these, by the way. Between, like, 3 Fatal Pushes, Smallpoxes, 3 Fatal Pushes, 2 Bloodchief's Thirsts, Smallpox. Alright, they kill Lily. Rack Marsh Flats. Get a Godless Shrine tapped. Wouldn't mind a Kaya's Guile. Looking at the top card of our deck to see what we draw. We draw Plains. Play Plains. Play Batterskull. Pass the turn. Opponent has a Seal of Fire, which they can use to take down the Batterskull and kill us. Alright then. Celestial Purges, Kaya's Guile in. Kind of want to bring in Anguished Unmaking, but probably not really. I actually think Elspeth Sun's Nemesis is going to be good in this matchup, potentially. And I want to go down the Thoughtseizes. Extirpate, Anguished Unmaking, all possible, but we'll see. Hey buddy. Yeah, how are you doing? Yeah, as soon as I'm done with this, we'll go for a walk, I promise. He gets 2 every day, and because I took a nap today, he's not had his second one yet, so he's a little bit antsy, but he's my sweetheart. Alright, we'll play first. Smallpox is decent. I wish we had a Flagstones in this hand. This hand would probably be perfect then, but I'm going to keep. We're going to start Godless Shrine tapped. Pass the turn. We'll lay down for a minute, okay? Opponent starts Arid Mesa Crack, gets a Blood Crypt, and plays a Bombat Courier. Then plays 2 Mishra's Baubles, 3 Mishra's Baubles, and attacks for 1, exiling a card. We untap. Opponent looks at the top card of our deck. We draw a Blood Crypt. We look at the top card of our deck again. Well, play Castle Lochthwain. Smallpox. This is pretty mean, considering my opponent only has 3 cards they can pick from. We're taking out their 1-drop play, and they're losing their first land. So if they kept a hand that was pretty land-light, they might actually be in trouble. I think I actually have to sack Castle Lochthwain here, even though I don't want to. And just because of the color requirements for other stuff. And I'm going to pitch Lingering Souls. I could pitch Elspeth, but I actually think I might want to cast her at some point. And she's basically the reason that I need to keep double white in my hand over potentially the draw engine that is Castle Lochthwain. It's kind of a late game strategy anyway, but when it looks at the top card of our library again, so discard Lingering Souls, opponent sacks Bombat Courier, discards Teamer Battle Rage, and sacks their only land. That is the best Smallpox we've had all night. Okay, opponent draws 3 cards. No lands! Got him! Stoneforge Mystic, go get the Batterskull, quick! Pass the turn. Oh, yes. Okay. Shambling Vent, go. Pass the turn. We'll put Batterskull into play on their end step. Opponent has to discard due to hand size. We draw Marsh Flats. Play Ghost Quarter. Go to combat. Attack for 4. 5. Play Elspeth. Make some soldiers. Opponent concedes. Nice! Well, I mean, that's what happens if you keep the greed hand. You get smallpoxed. Alright, game 3. They play first, revealing Luris. And I actually think this is really good, like an extremely good opening hand. We'll start Inquisition. We have Celestial Purge to back it up for whatever permanent they play first, be it like Death's Shadow or Scourge of the Skyclaves. It can't hit Bombat Courier. And then we'll be following that up with a Lingering Souls or Kaya's Guile. This is probably the hand I've been most excited about. Opponent is really in the tank about their opener. Yeah, we're definitely keeping. So opponent starts Agadeem, the Undercrypt. Thoughtseize. Well, they can take whatever they want most, which is probably Inquisition from this point. Yep, they take Inquisition. If I could top deck an Inquisition, that'd be great. We don't. Play Blood Crypt tapped. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a Bombat Courier and Thoughtseizes again, probably taking Celestial Purge. They take Kaya's Guile. Okay. We untap. We draw Stoneforge Mystic. So play Flagstones. Play Stoneforge. Probably Batterskull, yeah. Pass the turn. Opponent bolts Stoneforge. Plays a Death Shadow. Hits us for 1. We untap, we draw another Stone Forge. Play a Swamp. Purge Death Shadow. Pass the turn. Opponent attacks for 1 with Bombette Courier. Plays a Scourge. We untap. We draw Elspeth. Play Flagstones, keeping the untapped one. Search up the Triome. Play Elspeth. Gain 5 life. Pass the turn. Well, that was kind of nice. Opponent plays a Mishra's Bauble. This lets them hide a card, hide a draw basically to get extra value out of this courier. They attacked us too. Okay, they have a lightning bolt. So we untap, we draw Blood Chief's Thirst. Ooh, well you know what? Definitely while they have no red mana. And then we'll go ahead and play Stoneforge Mystic. And I'm going to get probably Feast and Famine. Pass the turn. Opponent sacks Bauble to draw a card. Last card, Fatal Push. Alright. Opponent draws an extra card. They have 2 cards in hand. One's a Bauble, one's a Thoughtseize. Probably taking Batterskull here. Yep. We untap. They look at the top card of our deck that we're going to draw. We draw a Swamp. Play a Swamp. Play Souls. Flash it back. If we untap, we can play and equip Feast and Famine, which is going to be a pretty fast clock, as well as a way to make sure that my opponent's not holding cards in hand. Alright, we win a match. Alright, we're 1-2, and I'll see you guys in round 4. I'm going to take a quick recording break here to go walk the dog. Alrighty, round 4, here we go. Would love to play first. If I had white mana, I'd actually consider this. I don't think I can keep the triple Smallpox 2-land hand. This might be kind of reasonable with a Urborg and a Lochthwain Castle. I'm going to put back the Snow-Covered Plains. And we're going to start Urborg Inquisition. This lets us play Flagstones into Smallpox if we happen to top deck a Smallpox. Alright, this is ridiculous. I just restarted the client again. We're lagging out. Oof. I guess we'll wait for it to respond. I guess I have to restart Moto again, the 3rd time this league. Alright, we're sort of back in the game, but it's still lagging. Alright, cool. We can either take Explore or Coalition Relic. And I think we take Explore. Pass the turn. So Smallpox would be an excellent top deck. Especially versus a deck like this that's trying to ramp and play Valakut. It's not a Yorion deck, worth noting. We draw Elspeth, so Godless Shrine in tapped. Pass the turn. Opponent played this Misty. Okay. Opponent did not crack Misty Rainforest. They play a regular forest. And pass. We draw a Shambling Vent. So play Castle Lochthwain. Go ahead and cast Lingering Souls. Pass the turn. Opponent cracks Misty. Gets a Breeding Pool tapped. Plays a Forest. And a Coalition Relic. Okay. Putting a charge counter on it. We untap. We draw Blood Chief's Thirst, which is not especially useful right now. So play Elspeth. Make some soldiers. Go to combat. And attack for 2. Pass the turn. Opponent gets a charge counter off of Coalition Relic. I suspect, given this, they either had nothing and they were adding the mana just in case they drew something, or they have a 6 mana play like Primeval Titan that would be pretty bad for us. Okay, our opponent is playing Amulet. Soccer Tribe Scout, Wooded Foothills. Alright. We untap. Draw another flagstones. So... what do we do here? We probably kill one of these Sakura Tribe scouts. I have a suspicion. We don't have any 6-mana plays other than Escape Elspeth, so playing a Flagstones to thin our deck is probably correct. Do we -1 on the spirits just to get in more damage? I think we make more soldiers, actually. Bloodchief's Thirst, kill a Sakura Tribe scout. Go to combat. Attack with everybody. Okay, hit our opponent down to 13. We could play Flagstones and activate Castle, or we can cast Lingering Souls. If we cast Lingering Souls, we'll have 8 power attacking next turn, and if we play Shambling Vent, it'll be 9, 10... Yeah, let's just go all out aggro here. We can minus Elspeth, we can just -1 Elspeth next turn, and I think that's lethal, even with a 1/1 blocker. Not to mention my opponent could lose life off of a land or something. Okay, Coalition Relic, adding a mana. It's green. Opponent plays Valakut, which is the last card we know about. And they charge up the Relic. We untap. We draw Stoneforge. So minus on 2 random flyers. Animate Shambling Vent. Go to combat. Swing with all the tokens forever. Opponent can block here. They'll take 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They have a land they can put on the battlefield. It's a cavern. Does that make a difference? It does not. Alright. Cool. So, versus the Primeval Titan deck. Part of me wants to bring in Boyle, but I don't think they run enough islands. Oh, but they do if they play the Exploration and Prismatic Omen creature that I can't remember the name of. Dryad of the Elysian Grove. Fulminator Mage, Ashiok seems good. I don't know what to take out in this matchup. I mean, Fire and Ice, probably we can cut. I don't want to cut Lingering Souls. I don't want to cut Liliana's. I don't even really want to cut Smallpox, because Smallpox could be fantastic against them. I'm going to go down a couple of Fatal Push, even though Fatal Push can hit the Snake. Bloodchief's Thirst, we can full price to kill like a Titan, though we're probably losing if our opponent casts a Titan. Inquisition Thoughtseize seems great. Sun's Nemesis does not seem particularly useful. I mean, it was great there, don't get me wrong, but maybe I don't max out on Kaya's Guile. And I think I'm going to trim a Swamp. We'll try it like this. Ooh, Urborg, Flagstone, Smallpox with Inquisition on turn 1. This seems like the pretty ideal hand here. Opponent starts Wooded Foothills. If they play a Snake, I'm good at Bloodchief's Thirst it. Yep. Like, if they have Amulet, Inquisition might be better, but I really don't want them to have this. It's true that Smallpox would be great at cleaning that up. Yeah, we probably should have Inquisitioned. When it plays an Amulet of Vigor and then a Talaria West. We draw Sword of Feast and Famine. Play Flagstones. Inquisition. Take Coalition Relic. Inquisition. Take Coalition Relic. Pass the turn. So our opponent's holding Cavern, Simic, Growth Chamber. Okay. So our opponent transmuted for Summoner's Pact. Ooh, we draw another Smallpox. So play Godless Shrine tapped. Black, black. Smallpox. Discard Swamp and sack Flagstones. Opponent discarded Cavern of Souls. Okay, Flagstone's ability. We'll get the Triome. That way we're not drawing tap lands. I didn't think they have 2 growth chambers. I think there was only 1. I got a text message and it distracted me slightly, so I'm not entirely sure. Oh, they didn't play out another land? Oh man, opponent. This is going to be unnecessarily brutal. I think we keep sword. Discard Kaya's Guile. That might actually be wrong. I want to discard Summoner's Pact. We'll sack Urborg. Pass the turn. Opponent has no lands, 2 cards in hand. Doesn't play a land. We draw Ashiok, which will be quite amazing if we can get another land. Okay, opponent plays no lands. Draw Silent Clearing, and away we go. Play Ashiok, mill and exile. We hit Baloth, Vigor, Forest, and Groll Turf. That might be their only basic, which could be relevant. Frequently they only play 1. At least last I checked into it. So go ahead and mill them. Bog West, Ultimatum, and Field of the Dead. Play Sword of Feast and Famine, pass the turn. Okay, they do nothing. We draw Liliana of the Veil. So play Lily. Tick up, pitch Thoughtseize. Opponent discards Summoner's Pact. Mill him. Hit Tireless Tracker, Steve, Misty Rainforest, and Gemstone Mine. This is fantastic. Opponent has no lands, and we have 2 active Planeswalkers. Alright, we're 2-2 going into round 5. That's how we want to be playing games. Alright, round 5, here we go. Yeah, I think this is fine. It's not overly amazing or anything, but turn 1 Inquisition into, like, Lingering Souls is pretty good. There's a number of decent draws we have here. Opponent starts Field Aether Vial, so we're probably against some variant of Death and Taxes, which Fatal Push is going to be useful against. I'm going to play Swamp and not Urborg first, because it's possible my opponent is black and white. They have Path. I'm going to take Stoneforge Mystic, because that keeps them off of stuff for longest. Skyclave Apparition is kind of a problem for us, because it can exile things like Sword. They take up Aether Vial to 1. We draw Thoughtseize. So, play Marsh Flats. Thoughtseize. Leon and Arbiter. Take Arbiter. Pass the turn. Oh, actually, that means I should get Godless Shrine in response to the Aether Vial trigger, because I have 6th. Because I don't want them to draw and play a Leon and Arbiter. We probably aren't going to need to Fatal Push something greater than 2 CMC for a bit anyway. So we'll just get the Triome. Okay, opponent's got a Vial on 2. They play a Horizon Canopy, which means these are still their 3 cards in hand. We untap. We draw Smallpox. Play Urborg. Lingering Souls. Still haven't seen any other colors, so they're probably mono-white. Generally, like if they were playing black-white, they would have Silent Clearing and not Horizon Canopy. They could be green-white. Green-white, like Death and Taxes, is a deck. When it plays a Snow-Covered Plains, they did tick up Vial to 3. Urborg does prevent that from being a painful land. We'll get a Plains. Okay, we untap. We draw Lily. Skyclave Apparition can get a non-land, non-token permanent you don't control with CMC 4 or less. Doesn't fly. Okay. So go to combat. Attack for 2. I don't think my opponent would Path the Souls token. It's a pretty abysmal use of Path. We're going to give them a Skyclave Apparition target and force them to discard. So tick up Lily. Okay, opponent's going to Vial in a Skyclave Apparition, hitting Lily. What this means is when we kill that Skyclave Apparition, we get a 3/3 illusion token. So pitch Lingering Souls. Opponent pitches Path, so their last card in hand is a Skyclave Apparition. They leave Vial on 3, and they play a Leonin Arbiter. Attack us for 2, sure. Take 2. We untap, draw Kaya's Guile. So, go to combat. Attack for 2. Flashback Lingering Souls. We're leaving up a plains to a full art plains to hide the fact that we have black mana for a fatal push. Okay. Vial staying the same. This does mean that my opponent, if they drew a Ghost Quarter this turn, would probably Ghost Quarter my plains, but I think they would do that anyway because it's our only one of that color. And that would cut us off of white, as we would have to go get a swamp. But at the same time, it's probably okay. We do have a lot of white sources in the deck. Okay, so opponent plays and sacks a Silent Clearing to draw a card. They go to combat, and they pass. Okay. We untap. We draw Blood Chief's Thirst, which I think makes our life slightly easier. Okay, first things first, go to combat. Attack for 4. And our opponent to 12. I think I just Fatal Push. Or I think I just Blood Chief's Thirst and then Flashback Souls. They're still trying to wait to nab something with that apparition. Which, I mean, I guess is fair. They play a Giver of Runes. They vial in the apparition now. If that was their plan, they should have done that at our end step. We untap. We draw Inquisition. Let's take a look at their hand. Skyclave Apparition and Resto. So take Apparition. Push Giver. Go to combat. Attack for 6. Problem is we just have Edicts, and our opponent is going to have a 3/4 flash blocker that they have to vial in. But, haha, vial in. But, I mean, Edicts are still going to be kind of good. They attack us for 4, they take us to 11. We untap, we draw an Urborg. Alright, go to combat. Attack for 6. Okay, opponent vials in a Restoration Angel. Flickering a Skyclave Apparition with no targets. They're going to path a token. Don't think that changes anything. Except it makes Smallpox slightly more castable. So my opponent blocks and then takes 4. Yeah, we're going to make them sack and gain life. Man, these Skyclave Apparitions are terrible if all your opponent has is tokens. Alright. So, versus mono-white stuff. Kind of like Kaya's Guile and Anguished Unmaking. Plague Engineer might be decent if I was smarter about, you know, if I knew what I needed to name. But I mean, like, we don't even need Kaya's Guile and Anguished Unmaking. I'm going to drop, I think, a Smallpox because, or I'm going to drop 2 Smallpoxes because my opponent is number 1 on the play, and Smallpox is worse when you're on the draw. And my opponent has Aether Vials, so like they don't necessarily need their lands as much anyway. And man, token beatdown, sweet. Thoughtseize, Liliana. This probably is not good enough, but I'm going to keep, simply because we have a lot of mana. Okay, opponent starts Field Aether Vial. This might mean that we can nab enough of their plays that they can't really do anything. If my opponent started with an actual 1-drop hand, we might have been in trouble. They have Giver, Vial number 2, Path to Exile. Okay. We're taking the second Aether Vial, for sure. Pass the turn. If my opponent top decks a land, that's pretty bad for us. But we don't have a fetch land in our opener, so it's like sort of okay. Okay, never mind. It's pretty bad. Okay, opponent plays Arbiter. And leaves up a Vial for Giver. We draw Inquisition. Well, that gives us something to do with our other mana, so shock this in. Inquisition. Opponent's going to Vial in the Giver. They're going to go down to 2 cards in hand. And by that I mean no cards in hand. Take Path. Thoughtseize, take Resto. And they're Hellbent. Sweet. Now we can follow this up with a Kaya's Guile into a Liliana, provided that my opponent does not draw land to activate field. Opponent attacks for 2, takes us to 12. We untap. We draw Lingering Souls. So play Godless Shrine, untapped, pass the turn. My opponent activates Vial, I will Kaya's Guile in response. So now they have mana to activate field. They attack for 2. No blocks, we'll go to 8. Yeah, we're going to make them sack, and we're going to gain 4. Opponent can use their mana to activate Field of Ruin in response, but... Okay. They sacked Arbiter and did not take out... Interesting. I want to play Liliana and make them sack, but I've got a feeling their card in hand is Skyclave Apparition. I have no way to confirm this other than to cast a Smallpox, which I'm not really wanting to do right now. I still think this is probably our best bet. If it is Skyclave Apparition and they top deck another land, we can Smallpox to get rid of it. Okay, make them sack. Okay, they keep Vial on 3. They play Field, so they're gonna sack Sunbaked Canyon to draw a card. They're gonna sack Horizon Canopy to draw a card. Oh no, they're playing a Stoneforge Mystic. Okay, with a Batter Skull. So they're gonna kill Lily here. So now is the perfect time to Smallpox because it takes care of that Batter Skull as well as one of their creatures, which is really annoying. Flagstones would be amazing top deck, but unfortunately we do not draw Flagstones. Another land here, especially Castle Lochthwain, is good. Cast Smallpox, discard Lingering Souls. They have to sack a creature and lose their Batter Skull. Sack our Swamp. Then we flash back Lingering Souls. This deck was like tailor-made to beat Death and Taxes, it feels like. Like, it feels like there's just nothing my opponent can do that does anything to our strategy. If they attack, I am blocking. Okay, they don't attack. We draw a Marsh Flats, so play Marsh Flats. Pass the turn. My opponent's Vial is not on 2, so we don't have to worry about Arbiter shenanigans at instant speed. They play a Stoneforge Mystic. Okay. They've already gotten their Batter Skull, though. Maul of the Skyclaves. Card's pretty good. So fetch with Marsh Flats. Get a Swamp. And activate Castle. We're trying to draw another land so we can play and equip Sword. Okay. We draw Blood Chief's Thirst. The sword play is still high value. Highest value, I should say. If my opponent has a Skyclave Apparition in their hand in addition to a Maul of the Skyclaves, we're probably just going to get wrecked here, but... If my opponent doesn't have another creature in hand, and first off, they're going to have to block they're going to have to block with Flicker Wisp. And if they don't, they're also in trouble, because we would just like Blood Chief's Thirst and take out their guy. So now If my opponent draws a land and they play Maul, they can suit up Stoneforge, but Stoneforge is just going to eat a Blood Chief's Thirst. They sack to draw. They're not interested in playing the Maul this turn. Okay. They attack us for 1. No blocks. We go to 6. We draw Flagstones, so play Flagstones. Suit up the Spirit. Go to combat. Attack for 3. No blocks. Opponent has to discard. Gonna activate this in response. We're gonna go kind of low on life here. Lingering Souls is perfect. So opponent discards a Field of Ruin. We untap all our lands. Second main, Blood Chief's Thirst to take out the Stoneforge. We'll go ahead and cast Lingering Souls. And we're going to go ahead and flash it back, too. This is only bad if my opponent has a Plague Engineer, but we haven't seen any black out of them, so it's not likely. Yeah, they didn't even have a creature. Choose not to tick up. And opponent concedes. We go 3-2 with our Orzhov / Mardu Pox deck. Let's go ahead and open up our treasure chest here. We get 5 play points, a redirect, which is one of my personal favorite spells that I never get to play, and a Well of Lost Dreams. Nothing worth anything as far as I can tell, but let's go ahead and talk about this deck a little bit. I really like this deck. I like the attrition game that it plays. I think we just kind of lined up poorly with Tron and with Eldrazi Tron. Eldrazi Tron opponent, if I recall, had pretty good draws, and we had kind of medium draws. And then, like, they played Chalice, and we have a lot of 1-mana spells. I might like to see a Dismember in this deck for that reason. Probably like drop a Fatal Push, add a Dismember. We have a lot of life loss in this deck between Smallpox, Thoughtseize, Fetches, Shocks. So we're losing tons of life, but Kaya's Guile actually really makes up for that. It gains a decent chunk of life at a time, takes out an attacker, we have Batterskull to help regain life, and actually, I really dislike Elspeth Sun's Nemesis in every deck I've ever played her in, except this one. This one, she's actually really good. Even versus the Death Shadow player, like, we just used her as gain life mode, and we killed a Scourge of the Skyclaves because of it. I think a lot of cards in this deck line up with each other really well, but we're not set up to beat a deck like Tron. What I would like to see, I think in order to make that a little more achievable, I might drop a Swamp for a second Blood Crypt and change out these Lithoform Blights for the Brushfire card. I think that's slightly better versus Tron than the Lithoform Blight is, because Lithoform Blight doesn't take them off of a land, and it gives them any color they need, but it can also give them colorless, so it's not like the basic land search where you could potentially strip mine your opponent if they've played all their basics, that kind of a thing. So I think this card's probably fine, but the Brushfire card is going to be slightly better on average. Fulminator Mage I'm pretty happy with. Like, Ashiok I love. Kaya's Guile is just bae in this deck. I wonder if... I'm trying to think if there's any other cards that I want to see. No, I think just dropping... I don't mind Bloodchief's Thirst. I actually like the fact that it can have Planeswalkers. I'm really sorry that I forgot that it could. But I would probably drop Fatal Push for Dismember, and I would play another League with this. I really enjoy it. And then, obviously, the Brushfire card in the sideboard, but I've rambled enough, so... Let me know if you guys like this deck, because I like this style of gameplay. It almost felt more proactive than most Smallpox decks that I play. Most Smallpox decks that I play want to grind the game out to, like, round, turn 400. And this one, like, you're winning on turn 10, turn 12 just by attacking with Souls tokens. And it feels good. So, leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel if you're so inclined. You can follow me on Twitch, same username you find me here over there. I stream Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Eastern, and we play Modern Cube. We play Cube, and we play silly decks, kind of like this one, and sometimes even sillier decks. So I hope to see you there. 420 subscribers, woo! You guys are fantastic. You're all wonderful human beings, and thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!